And good evening again, friends. Tonight, it's Sunday night again. It is August 30th. It is 2020. I'm Dr. Mike Sevilla, OAFP President. Thank you for joining us for this bite-sized session tonight. And so before we begin our guests, I just want to give everybody just kind of and I think we will probably have some announcements during this as well, but we have some exciting programming coming up. Just wanted to mention our program on September 30th. And let's get back on my screen here. Building cultural intelligence to break down racism. So that is on Wednesday, September 30th from noon to 5 p.m. And you can get more information at ohioafp.org. I'll get all the information there. It's a good time. So tonight we are going to be doing kind of a wrap up of 2019 and 2020, and who better to do that with us is Dr. Anna McMaster, the immediate past president of the OAFP. So good evening there, Anna.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
So how are you?
I'm doing great, Mike. How are you?
Good. So our task tonight is going to be reviewing, the past 12 months. We have some slides that we're going to get to later. But, we can just chat a little bit before that. I know it's probably hard to imagine a year ago. But kind of what were your thoughts going into your president year? I mean, it's obviously, it's a goal to be president and to get to this step. And I guess to start out with, what are your thoughts going into kind of last year's meeting to be inaugurated?
I was really excited to spend a lot of time with the other docs throughout Ohio, and also some opportunities to spend some time with other colleagues throughout the country. Just really getting to work on family medicine, trying to advocate for the things that we know are so important to make our lives better as physicians and working for our patients. I was looking forward to getting out there.
Right.
That went really well for about the first half.
Sure. Yeah, we have a lot of time to get into that, but I guess to reintroduce you to our audience, just share a little bit, about where you live, where you practice, and how long you've been there, and your practice situation.
Sure. I have been in Northwest Ohio. Napoleon, Ohio is where I practice. I live in Liberty Center, which is just a stone's throw from Napoleon. I've been there for 20 years now this summer. It's my hometown. That's where I grew up, and I still practice traditional family medicine, cradle to the grave. I did give up OB about 5 years ago for personal family reasons, but I still do otherwise full scope family practice. That's what I've always wanted to do, and I'm blessed to be able to actually do what I wanted to do as a little kid.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely reflect on that. Is that, when you first go to medical school, at least when I first went to medical school, like I wanted to be somebody who just wanted to just practice medicine and to take care of patients. And obviously, one of the great things about family medicine is that there's a lot of different career paths that people can take. And you can live your dream in family medicine in whatever you want to do. So I guess we can kind of just kind of jump into this COVID topic, which I know that we're going to get into. I mean, I guess as OAFP president, I mean, do you remember kind of the first things when COVID really started affecting the OAFP or the people in Ohio, or what are your first memories of kind of this COVID memory or nightmare, depending on how you look at it?
Yeah, I think the first time I really started thinking closely about COVID was, watching those news stories as it came in, those first cases in China, and talking about, is it going to make its way to the U.S.? Has it made its way to the U.S.? I was actually traveling on behalf of the OAFP to the 10-state conference out in New Jersey, and, thinking, okay, is this a safe and a wise thing to be doing? And, is this conference still going to happen? And at that point, I don't think any of us realized what a big impact it was going to have on our lives and our patients' lives and how we practice medicine. So at that point, I was kind of thinking about it. And then coming back, I had some personal travel. And I was thinking, okay, well, maybe this isn't such a good idea. So I kind of scaled back on that. And then, wow, everything kind of ground to the halt in the end of March. And, our advocacy days in May got canceled. The leadership conference in April was canceled. So we were looking at, okay, now kind of what do we do, hunker down, and how do we get our members PPE? Do our members have PPE? Really trying to watch those things and see what OAFP can do to keep our members up to date. And that was probably end of March and the first part of April.
Yeah, it just seems like it's like a year ago now. kind of those early days. I mean, I guess, personally for me, I just started hearing the news reports as well. And, there's there's a federal prison here in our county, and they started having a lot of cases there. And I've written about this in the past, and a lot of those cases went to our hospital. And I wouldn't say overwhelming the hospital, but there was a concern about, like you said, I mean, PPE and ventilators and that type of thing back then. And there was, a lot of fear in the community and a lot of uncertainty in the community that I haven't seen in a long time. And especially all the healthcare professionals, all the docs, all the nurses in our office and in the hospital, really just kind of really try to come together, just to try to take care of these patients, and just the uncertain time. And then you would go home, and then you would have the uncertainty about what's happening there as well. I would imagine maybe a similar type of circumstance in your community during those early days, maybe in February, March timeframe.
Exactly. We're in a rural setting, and I think it was a little bit unreal for everybody out here. We were laying staff off and, trying to figure out, okay, if we do have a large outbreak in this area, where are we going to get beds? We have 25 beds, working with emergency management. Is this going to happen? Are we going to get overflow from the larger city? Are they going to send them out to us? What are we going to do? Are we not going to be able to transfer our sick patients? And I think that's kind of when it started to hit home, is when our non-COVID ill patients started to not be able to be transferred out for the traditional care they needed for non-COVID illness, for cardiac problems, stroke, those kinds of things. It was, we can't transfer you to a tertiary care center because they're not accepting patients. I think that's when it really kind of hit home that this is real. This is going to affect us in every way.
And I've had, kind of the telemedicine conversation with a lot of colleagues, even on this program. But even in our office, we work with our EMR vendor, and we fairly got up and running fairly quickly. Obviously, there were a lot of bugs in the system still that hadn't been worked out, and of course they were not accustomed to the volume of what was happening. But at least from our office standpoint, we were able to do that switch, to do that kind of change. Obviously, with the relaxation of the payment rules, that we'd be able to charge for those too. And surprisingly, our docs, who sometimes are not all technologically adept, were able to convert to that, and our nursing staff were able to convert to that too. How was the telemedicine conversion in your office during that time?
It actually went really well. I agree with you. We were able to transition much quicker than I thought we would. Within a week or two, we were really able to start doing those. We did a lot of non-reimbursed phone calls at first until we figured out the technology, but we were very fortunate to be able to get it up and moving. I think patients were pretty good about saying, sure, I'm happy to try to talk to you on the computer or on the phone if I have to come in, or if I can't come in. So I think patients were quick to adapt. And we were able to get it up and running fairly quickly. So we were, I think, just like you, were able to kind of swing into action and be able to be there for our patients. So I was very pleased with that. The broadband issue is makes it a little tricky. We've learned all kinds of tricks. You tell patients, go stand by the window. Why don't you try that upstairs? Okay, you're in a good spot. Don't move.
Right. Yeah, you
Everybody
really
has
kind
that.
of really kind of learn kind of the bandwidth challenges that some of our patients have, or
Yeah.
or a lot of them didn't have a smartphone, doesn't know how a smartphone works, and we did telephone visits as well during that time, and really kind of knew the strain of the system as far as taking care of patients. But the great thing about family medicine and family docs is that we do find a way to take care of our patients.
Exactly.
Let's see. Well, what else here to kind of, anything else kind of stick out, that during that time, as we're kind of looking back, because it's always kind of like, interesting to look back before kind of looking forward. So,
the other thing that I think I find so remarkable is that, as family docs, we've been pushing for telemedicine for what feels like forever, to really allow doctors to do that. Not just you sign on to the company website and do a televisit with Aetna's NP or Aetna's doc, but to really allow reimbursement so that patients have that access to us when they're on vacation or in the evening, or when they're having difficulty getting into the office for whatever reason. And we've been pushing for that for so long, and now, boom, here it is. So I guess looking back, it's it's not something I ever really wanted to go through. It's not something I really am happy I went through. But there's definitely some things that we can pull out of this and move forward and make things better.
Exactly. So let's see. So let's kind of talk about this annual report here. Anything else before we kind of dive into these slides here, before we kind of get into this?
No, sounds good, Mike. Let's see what we got.
Let's see here, put together by our fabulous OAFP staff, which we'll have tremendous and continuous praise during this program about what they have accomplished. So just to let everybody know, so all this information will be in the next edition of the OAFP magazine, which will be coming soon to you. And we apologize for some of the small type, but you're going to be getting all of this information coming up soon. So yes. So let's see. I have these in front of me here. So I know that's small type here, but I am going to read this first paragraph because it has our good friend Gary Leroy. So wow, what a year it has been. We've experienced the highs and celebrating the installation of Ohio's own Gary Leroy, brought on by and the challenges brought on by the coronavirus pandemic. OAFP began the year hosting an enhanced schedule and in-person CME, KSA sessions, and quality improvement activities. However, in March, OAFP found it necessary to convert scheduled programs to virtual learning opportunities that provided attendees with a safer way to access equally high-quality educational experiences. And I remember that because you recall, we had this fabulous CME in the Canton, Ohio area at Gervasi Winery, and where I presented and moderated, and days later, the whole state closed. And I remember, leading up to that, talking with staff, like, should we even, have this event? Should we cancel the event? What should we do? Recalling back then, the decision was to, continue to have the event. And from what I recall, and I could be wrong, there were very few cancellations leading into that, and I think that was part of the decision to go ahead and have that event. And for the people who were there, got tremendous positive feedback. There were a lot of people who I have not seen at OAFP events, in the past. It was their first event. They were so thankful that they had an OAFP event come to them, and they were able to block out the time to come to the event. And I know later in the year, there was a event initially, planned in Findlay out in your way, Anna, and postponed and canceled and rescheduled. But at least I can think back to, that was a really fun event, and I'm really looking forward to having in-person events again whenever we can.
Yeah. No, the feedback from that was really great. And I think the Wednesday format really worked for a lot of people. It was kind of a midweek thing, broke up the week a little bit, and the quality of the education was great, and the site was great. The speakers were great. So I just think overall, it sounds like it was just a wonderful event to, I guess, end the life as we know it going into COVID.
So we'll go to the next slide. So I know that nobody can see the type here, but just looking at that, Anna, what kind of sticks out at you looking at the slide?
The volume. Look at that list. And I think almost the overwhelming nature of the slide, I think that's what we need to take away from this, is the wealth of leaders that we have here in Ohio representing us on the national stage. Gary Leroy there, of course, as our home son. And then also a couple down from him, if you notice, Ada Stewart. She is our AAFP President-elect. She's a hometown girl too. She may not currently be representing Ohio, but she was trained here, and she will certainly represent Ohio and all of our country well coming up too. But looking there at that list of family docs, residents, students, all in leadership positions, just the wealth of talent that Ohio has representing us.
And you'll see pictured there, our good friend Ted Wimslow, recipient of the 2019 AFP Robert Graham Family Physician Executive Award during the Congress of Delegates and FMX, which you'll see on the lower right of your screen there. So, but yeah, I definitely agree. This carries on the great tradition that we have here in Ohio Family Medicine at OAFP, with having all these fabulous leaders, and even kind of reflecting back closer to just our most recent annual meeting, just seeing the people there and seeing the energy of talking with residents and students, and we have a great tradition that we will be continuing here at OAFP. Mm-hmm. So let me go to the next slide. So this was the 2019 OAFP Award winners when we were in person. Of course, this year, we did a virtual, virtual recognition of these individuals. And anything, sticking out at you, just kind of reflect on this slide, Anna?
No, just again, what great folks we have here in Ohio. Dr. Bachtel, Dr. Ehring, Dr. Gavzik, Dr. Ansalone, and there in the corner, I just want to point out, I think we all know we have a fabulous staff here in Ohio that worked tirelessly for us. And Ann Spicer celebrated her 25 years with us. So the board recognized her for that service with a real nice print there. And that was something to celebrate. We're very fortunate to have her leadership and all the great staff that we have.
Yeah, I guess we can veer off a little bit and talk about staff. Were you, I presume you were contacted or at least notified, that the staff was going to be working from home instead of at the office. And, like many other Ohioans and many other Americans, had to have that change from working in their work setting into the home setting. And, obviously, our OAFP staff has done fabulous working from home. And, it's just another strange thing that's happening during this time. Mm-hmm.
If you didn't know better, you'd think they were in the office with everything at their fingertips that they needed. They make it look so effortless. just
Yeah,
doing a great
exactly.
job.
Exactly. Yeah. And if people haven't seen it, I think it is on this Facebook stream. If you don't know the staff, or if you have never seen the entire staff, there's a video on YouTube, and I believe you're on Facebook as well. Introducing you to the staff. I know when I watched that video that there was stuff I haven't learned or was reminded about. So one of the many shout outs we're going to give to our fabulous OAFP staff here this evening. So let's go to the next slide.
I don't know what we were thinking there. Go to jail. We did not get into that much trouble at that conference. I just have to say that.
So is that the infamous 10-state conference?
Yes.
Before everything got shut down there.
Yes, exactly. That was a neat experience too, just to meet with different leaders from across the region. So a lot of good folks.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for people, especially OAFP members who don't know what the 10-state conference is, or what our 10-state region is, can you describe that a little bit?
Sure. The 10-state conference is an annual conference, and it's literally hosted by, I think it's more than 10 states now, but it's primarily the northeastern section of the U.S. Midwest, northeastern states get together once a year, and they have kind of a mini conference where they talk about issues that are affecting their state. And it's kind of to share and learn best practices among the different state chapters. So the executive, one or two of the executives from the staff go, and then one or two of the executive board, or somebody who's in state advocacy, will often go from OAFP. So it's usually treasurer and president are usually the two that go from the Ohio Executive Board. So you always learn something to bring back on how to run your meeting a little bit better, or what kind of state advocacy things that different states are trying, what has worked for them with the different issues that they have had, and how can we use that in Ohio to better represent our physicians. So a really neat conference.
Yeah, and I remember, I forget what year it was, where it was in Ohio. It was in Columbus, and it's always fun getting, basically it's just getting together with our friends from our region, and it is a little bit of a leadership conference. We do talk about health policy, and sometimes people share best practices of what's going on in their chapter, or even going on at the practice level. It's fun catching up with them, but also on the slide, I mean, there's some national meetings. The National Conference of Constituency Leaders, it takes place every spring in Kansas City. It's an AAFP meeting, and we're probably looking for representatives to go to that meeting, depending on what's going to happen with that meeting. If it's going to be virtual, if it's going to be in person, we don't know. But I know that we always look for people who future leaders, and leaders who who are passionate, who are advocates, to represent the OAFP at this AAFP meeting. And then at the bottom of this slide, you'll see the family medicine residents and students. They just had their meeting this past summer, and again, we always have a great a group of people. I think this is the 2019 people, and then the student resident 2020 people. That was virtual this year for that meeting. So it's always great, meeting these people. Some of these people, some of them are newer to OAFP. Some of them are not that involved. We get them in these leadership positions, and some of them just kind of, they get the bug, and they want to be more involved, or be involved with the board, or other type of things. Let's see. So I guess I wanted to also point out on the slide, it says at the bottom, it's a small print though, but the board held mega issue discussions. So these are board level discussions that we carve out time out of our board meeting, and had some topics including gun violence and safety, scope of practice, primary care spend. And I don't wonder if you just reflect a little bit, but not on those topics, but just like the board having those type of high level discussions, because sometimes there are going to be some issues that come before the board that have to be discussed, and sometimes the board asks for a lot of different points of view on some of these maybe controversial or at least topics that are in the news.
Yeah. And there's been so many topics in the news that affect us. And if you really look at it, everything is a health issue. Everything that it really is. We know there's the social determinants of health. We know that everything affects your health. Only 20% is what we see in the exam room. The rest of the 80% is what happens outside of the exam room. So gun violence, it is a health issue. Racial inequality, it is a health issue. Socioeconomic problems, they are health issues. So there's all these topics that we really do need to think about as health issues, and really trying to figure out what is our role as OAFP, what is our role to advocate for our members and for our patients. It's really a weighty decision, and there's how can we spend our political capital most effectively? And there's so many different viewpoints on so many of these issues. There's so much information out there that not one person can know it all. So these board discussions, these mega issue discussions, I think are aptly named because they are mega issues. It gives an opportunity for the board members to really come together. We have lots of information well ahead of time to really look at and research, and then give us an opportunity to sit down and discuss these issues as a group. Really gets that one-on-one dialogue with each other to decide, okay, where are we at as an organization, and what is our role for this? Do we need to send letters to our representatives? Do we need to take a resolution to AAFP? Do we need to be at the State House testifying on legislation that's upcoming? Really, what is our role in education for our members? So it really gives us an opportunity to hone in and really discuss the issue at hand and figure out where we go from there.
Exactly. And some of the discussions can get kind of heated, but still kind of still civil. People are very passionate about their points of view. I think the board is always respectful of everybody's point of view, but still, I guess, an advocate or maybe even assertive of their point of view. But I think at the end of the day, and when we come down to the issue and voting on the issue, I think the board has in the past and in the future too, will take these issues very delicately and obviously, have our patients kind of at the center of it, and so we can deal with issues like this at the community level and state level and national level appropriately. So, and even coming up in the September board meeting for the OAFP, there's going to be an issue that's very important, a resolution that's brought in from one of our local chapters that's going to be discussed at the board level. And if you haven't seen it already, it has been in the weekly family medicine update, so you can get information there, and you can leave your comments as OAFP members on what the topic is. Mm-hmm. So why don't we move to the next slide here? I guess this next section is called advocacy, and I'm going to read from this first paragraph here. Our advocacy efforts with state and federal officials took on new subjects, including adequate availability and distribution of PPE, COVID-19 testing and testing supplies, financial support for primary care infrastructure during a pandemic, and telemedicine payment parity. Our typical communications continued, but featured atypical information about applying for the Paycheck Protection Program and other relief programs under the CARES Act. We highlighted information about rapidly changing Medicaid, State Medical Board of Ohio and State of Ohio Board of Pharmacy rules, changes designed to ease practice changes during the stay-at-home orders. So And Anna, yes, I mean, we as OAFP have really tried to get our members this information, especially things about, the PPP, the Payment Protection Program, and when the telemedicine rules were relaxed. And I know that, sometimes we get notes from staff and say, is this too many emails? Is this too little emails? But in the feedback that I've gotten from members, I mean, that they've really appreciated the information that OAFP has sent to them.
No, I agree. I think our members have looked to OAFP as being the sound voice in the tumult out there, that, okay, this is a source that you can go and look at, and they'll get you the most up-to-date and reliable information. So I think the staff has kind of done a great job of keeping up to date and keeping that information coming in the appropriate stream.
And I know I've heard recently just from AAFP, and there's been a lot of emails out there that that AAFP is, I guess, has a program or resources for PPE for AAFP members, so that's great. So that's one way how National is being an advocate for family docs.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I think that program extends a couple more weeks yet.
So we're going to switch to the next slide here, which no one will be able to see any of the type, but again, Anna, I mean, it's just like you've said with the previous slide, the volume of work that OAFP and OAFP staff have done throughout the past year. It's just overwhelming.
It is, look at all of that. And when you get that magazine, I urge you, whether it's in your inbox or in your mailbox, to really look at all of those pieces of legislation that OAFP either sent letters on or took a policy statement for. I mean, they were really quite busy this last year in spite of COVID and in addition to COVID.
And I don't know if you're seeing it where you're at, Anna. I mean, I know in my local community, a lot of medical professionals, including physicians and even nurses and other medical professionals, they're really seeing advocacy. They become more advocates. They become more vocal, depending on what side of the issue you are. But they're really feeling empowered, especially in the past few years, and I'm seeing that with OAFP members, and even going through the whole kind of nomination process for getting people in leadership positions, you kind of feel the advocacy and the empowerment that you're seeing from OAFP members. Is that something that you're seeing too, especially locally where you're at?
Definitely we see some of it. Locally, I guess I don't see it quite as much. I see them in the community. I definitely see the physicians in the community advocating for their patients all the time on a daily basis. I don't know whether I could say they're advocating for roles outside of the community necessarily quite as much locally here, but definitely I think to be a family doc, you have to be an advocate. You have to advocate for your patient. You have to advocate for your colleagues. And I think the slide just shows how we advocate up the chain there.
And I think the last thing on this slide is just your photo. The OAFP received the 2019 AAFP
Yes.
Leadership in State Government Advocacy Award in recognition of successful collaboration with untraditional advocacy partners. Obviously, not the first time OAFP has received this award, but obviously, reinforcing the great work that OAFP and OAFP staff are doing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It's good to be recognized on the national stage for all the hard work that the chapter has done.
Let's move to the next slide. So this is a fairly newer program for OAFP, and it's called Partners in Health. OAFP launches Partners in Health program as a means to recognize community and corporate supporters that are making a commitment to family medicine. OAFP's Partners in Health is an online resource that contains links to organizations that provide patient education and high-value tools designed to support family physicians and their care teams deliver optimal frontline care. OAFP is excited to recognize the following community corporate supporters that you'll see on the screen. So I think this goes in the column of thinking outside the box and looking staff looking to partner with organizations who we have a common goal, and it's caring for our patients.
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely, caring for our patients is the common goal there, and really, how can we help our patients, really advocate for them in different ways rather than just at the state house level. How else can we get an education out to them? How can we help our physicians in other avenues than what we traditionally would think about?
Exactly. So we'll be excited to have more partnerships and having staff working very hard and looking for those partnerships and see where we can align with other organizations. So let's move to the next slide. So we kind of touched on this already. Just the fabulous educational program, professional development, quality improvement. There's just so much to mention here, so I don't know where to start. Anywhere you'd like to start on this, Anna?
Again, I think you just have to look at the volume. I think the print, it's too small to really look at, but that speaks to the volume of CME, professional development, quality improvement that's available through OAFP to serve our members there. We did talk a little bit about the Canton Roadshow already, and the Family Medicine Workshop. If that's something that folks have not attended, I really encourage them to take a look at that. It's a way to really get a lot of CME in one chunk, interact with some peers you may not see on a regular basis, or maybe meet a lot of new folks you haven't met before. Really get some one-on-one information, some good learning from some specialists at the family medicine focus, dermatology that you and I can use. So it was really a good learning experience if you've not been there. And then the ABFM, the joint work there that is an ongoing project right now with ABFM, EVP Elizabeth Baxley. You see that there. There is a pilot program to test the personalized certificate planning for members. So that's something that's really exciting, and that's something that's kind of ongoing here for folks. So OAFP received a grant to implement this pilot project and support our innovation here that aligns with the ABFM strategic plan. So there's, I think, Mike, didn't you do a bite-sized learning with Dr. Kaufman on this, or am I thinking incorrectly?
Yeah, Dr. Kaufman did do a bite-sized learning session on this. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that's one of the many projects that we're helping out with the American Board.
Mm-hmm. So that's a neat opportunity for our members.
And if you're a newer member to the OAFP, or you're not familiar with all that we do, I mean, this is a slide that's very practical for you. Offering not only in-person education when we were able to, but that shift to virtual education, including webinars, and these bite-sized learning sessions. So we're already looking forward to further programming, and can I kind of see there's been discussions about the Family Medicine Workshop. As far as whether in person or virtual, or what they're going to do, depending on what's happening in the world, and depending on, I know there's been surveys that have been sent out to OAFP members, or I think even past Family Medicine Workshop registrants on kind of what their preference would be. So I know final decisions have not been made on that as of yet. So. But Anna, I know you have a fan. You have a fan in our chat room, and they have a comment. And some guy named Tom Houston. Don't know who that is. No, this our past president, our good friend. Anna, you and the staff did a masterful job on communications and public health advocacy on behalf this year in a situation that no one could have predicted. Kudos. So. Live time feedback from our audience. What do you think about that?
Well, that's great. Thank you, Dr. Houston. That's great to hear. I appreciate your feedback, and definitely the staff really does their part to make this a job. Don't want to say quite easy, but definitely makes it a lot easier than you would think.
Exactly. So that's nice. It's always fun to hear from our audience. So, if you're watching us live, thank you. You can leave comments here. I will see them. But even if you're watching this afterward, you can leave comments, or we can try to be interactive and be engaging and as much as we can in this format here. So I want to go advance to the next slide here. So we're going to talk about wellness. So the OAFP collaborated with the Ohio Physician Wellness Coalition to produce wellness videos available for CME credit, and created a website resource page, Joy Among Chaos, to help members collectively navigate the challenges during the current pandemic. So and I don't know about you, but I wish I was able to sit in live on a lot of these sessions. I know they're all kind of recorded and backlogged and on demand.
Yeah.
But I can tell you from my standpoint, I mean, it's great topics. The presentations were fabulous. They were just I think they were around in lunchtime live. So I blocked my office, and I at least had 1 hour of joy and wellness during my day. Have you been able to peek in on any of this programming?
I was not able to get to them live this year. I did last year. I was able to do a couple of them live. This year, I have managed to get back to them in the evening when I do a little bit of a walk or something. I'll turn it on, and it's one of my better podcasts that I get to check into. So they are definitely worth the time, and just to really help you learn to focus in and work on your own wellness there a little bit. So definitely worth taking advantage of and checking those out.
As typically happens with OAFP, we were ahead of the curve on this deal. And I think one of the first physician organizations and medical organizations to offer this kind of programming, including topics on fixing the workplace, not the worker, turn daily frustrations into action by advocating for your wellness and financial wellness. So, and still on the OAFP website, I believe, so OAFP.org to get that programming. So we'll switch to the next slide here, communication. So we have our magazine, print or online, weekly family medicine updates. And I think, Anna, just during this COVID time, there was some extra type of emails sent out, especially talking about PPP and telemedicine. And, I was talking before, I mean, I did get feedback from members saying, that was very helpful for them, especially getting the right information from OAFP.
Definitely. I think, communication. Best thing we can do is let our members know what they need when they need it. And the staff does a great job of making sure we're getting that information out to our members in a timely fashion. So the magazine, definitely everybody, those are great options to check out. But the emails and the weekly family medicine update is great with that real-time updated information.
And of course, if you're watching this, and if there is other ways, people or OAFP can communicate with you or with members, please reach out to us. You know how to do that. So next slide. So I did touch on this at the top of the program. OAFP, talking about health equity. OAFP is committed to furthering health equity education and taking the following actions. Used a $10,000 AFP Health Equity Grant to focus on tangible opportunities, member education, and considering OAFP policy positions through a health equity lens. And of course, this workshop, it was originally what's it called? Limiting implicit bias training. Was originally scheduled for next month, but has been postponed due to COVID-19 until next year. But we do have this virtual CME program, Building Cultural Intelligence to Break Down Racism, on Wednesday, September 30th. So another way I think, Anna, that OAFP is really kind of being on the forefront of a lot of these issues that are important to family physicians and important to patients.
Definitely. And this looks to be a really great program. The initial program was going to be awesome, and it still will be. It'll just be a year late. But this is going to be kind of a smaller version, and I think it's going to be really just a wonderful opportunity for us to really look at a very timely issue and see how we can move forward.
So there's still time to register for that, people. So just go to ohioafp.org and you can register for that program. I know, I believe that there are going to be some residents and students and other OAFP members registering this, so this should be good. And I heard the moderator is not bad. So
I've heard him before. He's pretty good. He's really pretty good.
So we only have a few slides left here, so we'll move to collaboration. And this is always something that OAFP has had a strength in, and collaborating with other organizations. And Anna, I know that being the face and the president, last year, I mean, you got to sit in on some of these collaboration meetings. Can you share a little bit about those?
Yeah, and that's one of the great things that you get to do as president, is you really get to know a lot of the folks in similar positions in the other organizations. The Ohio Coalition of Primary Care Physicians, the Medical Association Coalition, the House of Medicine, Ohio Physician Wellness Coalition. So you can read the whole list there. But just a lot of really great people, really passionate about taking care of the patients in Ohio, helping the helpers throughout the state, and really making sure that the legislative changes are going the direction that's the best for the people in Ohio. So it's really great to get to know these people, a really great experience to see how passionate they are, and to really work at the table with them.
The other thing I want to point out is, because I get questions from OAFP members all the time, how many members do we have? So as of April 30th, OAFP has 5,268 members, 2,642 active, 391 resident, and 1,800 student. So one of the larger chapters in the AFP, in case people are curious or didn't know, but still the best chapter. I don't think it's biased. You think it's biased, Anna?
Oh, definitely not.
So winding down here, so we'll move to the next slide here. So looking forward, even though we're all virtual, we have this great set of initial programming already in the calendar for OAFP. I know we talked a little bit about September 30th. Anna, have you ever taken part in any of this, the self-assessment group study sessions?
I have. I've done several of the virtual KSEs in the past. I think I actually did hypertension a couple of years ago virtually with OAFP. So I think you really do learn a lot through those. You kind of, even in the virtual format, they're really pretty good. So I never really liked my self-assessment modules, or SAMs as they used to be called, but it made a painful experience actually, I don't want to say enjoyable, but much more educational.
And the other thing on this slide is a webinar series. Ohio led 13 chapters of the AFP to develop a 3-part CME webinar series to recognize that in the midst of chaos, family physicians have a unique opportunity to harness and forge their own financial successful practice management path. I was able to catch these, Anna, and very well done. Some of our friends and colleagues were on these to share their own personal stories from their practices. Just another example of OAFP, not only, clinical information, but practice management, financial type of information that we can share with our members. It was just a fabulous webinar series.
Are those archived there, Mike?
I believe they are. we can get more information about that. I don't believe that they're on the OAFP website, but I know that they're out there on the internet somewhere. And we will be, and they probably have been shared maybe on the weekly Family Medicine Update where to find those on the archived format, but I know that they're out there.
Looks like the OAFP website. Looks like that's where.
Oh, they are? Okay.
You can find those. Mm-hmm.
So, my bad.
That's all right.
I was so excited to watch them live. I'm like, yay! And our last slide. We have a final slide here. This is thanks, and there's a quilt there.
I just have to say, Mike, what happened to the quilt this year? Who won that, Mike?
Yeah, well, you have to go to Columbus to pick up my quilt. No, you won it. You won it fair and square. Yeah, I'm so jealous though, because saw pictures of it. And...
Oh yeah, it's a great. So for those of you out there, our last slide there showed Sarah Sands, and our winner of our last quilt. So that was last year. That was 2019. Dr. Sands makes quilts for the OAFP Foundation, and this year she made a similar one. And I was fortunate enough to win the raffle to be able to take that home. So I'm sure there'll be another quilt that folks can get an opportunity. So Mike, you get your chance maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next year. But so just to let people know, we can do a little plug for the foundation. So if you go to the OAFP website, there are merchandise that people can purchase to support the OAFP Foundation. And I know I got my mask. I got more than one mask.
Oh yeah.
We have T-shirts, and maybe there'll be more T-shirts as maybe the holidays come around, or maybe something like that. But always keep in mind the OAFP Foundation. They support student programs, student development. The preceptorship program, where students come into family medicine offices and they shadow family docs. They had like a virtual type of version this year. But if you want to support the OAFP Foundation, you can get everything at the OAFP website. So didn't want to forget about the foundation. And that's it. That's all the slides here. So I did not see any further comments or questions in there. So want to thank everybody for joining us here. And anything else that you can think of, like kind of reflecting back on your president year?
No, not really. I was just going to ask you, Mike, what are you looking forward to here? What are you most excited about coming up here in your year?
That's a great question. I think, I talked about earlier in the program, we really tapping into, people's really wanting to make a change, wanting to be an advocate. And I reflected a little bit about that in my president's speech. This is really the time for us to be empowered, to be an advocate, to support our patients, to support our communities. I'm hoping to tap into that with our OAFP members, because I think that's really needed. And I think there's a lot of our members out there who some of them feel like they're by themselves out in Ohio somewhere, and that they're not connected with their state organization. They're not connected with other family docs. And I'm really hoping to reach out to those OAFP members, to those family docs, and say, hey, we're here for you. We can support you. We have the resources. We have the best staff around to help you take care of patients, to help you be a leader in your community. So that's kind of my hope and my dream for this year coming up.
Great. Looking forward to seeing it.
Let's see. Anything else? I think that's it. So I guess closing up here, just check out the OAFP website. That's what it really comes down to, ohioafp.org. It has all the information that we've talked about tonight. You're going to get the annual report in the next magazine issue. Yeah, that's it. Any closing thoughts before we close things up for the night? I can't believe you went for an hour. It's crazy.
I know. Time flies. Yeah, time flies. No, it's been a great year in spite of the changes, how everything has changed and the new challenges. But again, hopefully we'll change these challenges into opportunities. And looking forward to your president year here, Mike. And again, I can't say enough thank you to the staff and to all the physicians in the state for trusting me with leading you, and looking forward to the year ahead.
Cool. Well, thank you for your leadership, especially during this time. And obviously, again, shout out to the staff for their fabulous job they have done and they are doing and will be doing in the future. So, so that ends our program tonight. So stay tuned for our next program. You get all the information at ohioafp.org. Till next time, everybody have a good night and have a good week, everybody. So, bye.